My name is Jenny Jackson and I am mixed Bolivian and English. I was born in Coventry and then I ended up going to Bolivia, where my mum is from, and I was there until I was about 4 years old. And then I went to Spain for a bit, and then I came back to the UK when I was 5 and I started school, not speaking any English, and apparently I was really angry a lot of the time because I couldn't communicate with my school friends. And then it was really cold and my dad felt this guilt, he said, for bringing me from a very beautiful warm place to a very cold rainy place. And I think there was something that happened, like, because my mother tongue was Spanish, there was something that happened where as I grew up I kind of lost the Spanish a bit, or lost the confidence with it, which I find is a really interesting thing when you're a mixed person, because I think there's like the language that is like of the dominant culture that you live in, and then the language that is kind of the other part of you. And so I feel on some level this like sense of grief about my Spanish being quite variable. Sometimes it's amazing when I'm with my family and sometimes it's really rubbish. And if a Spanish person starts to speak to me, or a Latin American person starts to speak to me, I kind of have a panic, like, oh, I'm not really like them. And that's an interesting kind of relationship with shame, I think, and kind of feeling like I've let a bit of myself go. Growing up, I think there was something about having two cultures that I was incredibly proud of, actually. And I was always amazed at how people were so surprised at the food that I ate that was Bolivian. And that feels like a really strong connection for me with my family. And as I've gotten older, I've become more and more kind of interested and proud of my mixedness, and also just sort of like really seeing how hard it was for my mum and dad. They got together in the 70s, in the late 70s, and then I grew up in the 80s and 90s, and sort of seeing how hard it was for their families to kind of cope with this sort of bicultural kind of identity, and the racism that my mum experienced in the Midlands, actually, and that having quite a big influence on me in terms of being able to see my privilege because I have the fair skin, and seeing how pointless that is. So I kind of feel like I've been privileged in a way that I've been able to see how the world works a bit more, and I'm aware of how the world is different for my mum and other people, and that I have a responsibility to kind of educate, really, and that's quite an interesting thing that I've come to terms with, and particularly because I'm a theatre artist. So that kind of responsibility has really come to the foremost of my practice in the last sort of 5 years. Yeah.